I met an amazing guy on a dating app, and now I'm wondering if I should drop the "I was born without the usual lady parts" bomb on our first date, or let him crush on me a little longer before I scare him off. So, I have MRKH syndrome. Basically, this means I was born without a vagina, vaginal canal, cervix, uterus, and fallopian tubes. This makes it so I am unable to make love and unable to have children. I met a guy on a dating app about a week ago, and we've been texting ever since. I've been super busy with school, volunteer work, and meetings, so we haven't actually met in person yet. We spoke on the phone once so far while he was walking home from work at 3 a.m. He's a bartender. He's really funny, and I feel like he gets me. We've set up a coffee date for Wednesday, and I'm really looking forward to it. So far, he's definitely shown interest in me, saying things like how he's been crushing on me or how he thinks I'm really sweet and lovely. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I feel the same way back. This is the first time I've ever connected with someone this way on a dating app. I'm excited, but at the same time I'm also very nervous. He's very honest and blunt about things, and I feel that I need to reciprocate that. A lot of doctors and therapists say that there's no right time to discuss it, only when you feel comfortable. Although that's true, I don't want either of us to be invested in the other before having the chance to talk about it. So I guess my question is, how long should I wait before telling him? Would it be too much if I told him on our first date? I mean, for all I know, maybe he won't even be interested in me after we meet in person. But at the same time, if he is, I'm not trying to scare him away. And a follow-up question, how do I begin to tell him? Maybe a funny way to approach it? Or a good conversation starter that could lead the conversation towards my condition? I've told one guy before and that didn't go too well. I waited a month to tell him and I ended up crying while doing it. He was interested in me before I told him, but afterwards, he was only interested in being friends with benefits. My self-esteem definitely took a kick with that one. First update 5 days later, I apologize for the length of this, but I suppose I needed something for me to lay out what happened and come to terms with it myself. In short, it went terrible. And frankly, I didn't handle it well. The original plan was to get coffee, see how the date went and go on from there. He told me he had been recently fat-fished, not sure if that is the correct term, but he had previously met up with a girl who was way heavier than what was presented in her dating profile, and it allegedly went poorly. He was texting me less and less leading up to the day we planned on meeting, last Wednesday. He texted me Tuesday morning saying that he was sick, and apologized for the lack of communication. I had classes that day and was only able to get back to him later in the evening. I asked him if he was busy because I wanted to call him, see how he was feeling, and figure out what the plan was. I told him that health comes first, and we can always reschedule, but he insisted how badly he wanted to see me. Somehow he convinced me to see him Tuesday, at his place, even though he was sick. Once I got to his place, he was extremely sweet and nice. We totally hit it off. He complimented me a lot, said I was cute and hugged me twice, all excitedly like when a puppy sees you when you get home after a long day. He made us coffee, and we talked about life, school, family, hobbies and interests, etc. It was going very well. We got into the discussion of movies and TV shows, and he ended up turning on his TV, and switched to Netflix. I asked him if he watched any anime. Personally, I'm not big on anime, but I've seen a few shows because my younger brother is into it. I recommended Fullmetal Alchemist to him and we started watching that. He asked if he could sit closer to me. I said yes, and he noticed I was cold, so he turned up the heat and brought out a blanket for us. I had my head resting on his chest with his arm around me, and I joked about how fast his heart was beating. He said that it was probably because he had a cute girl sitting with him. In that moment, I realized I had to tell him about my condition. It took a while for me to get into that discussion because 1. I just wanted to hold on to that moment for a bit longer, and 2. I wanted to tell him, but I couldn't get the words to come out. He looked at me and tried going in for a kiss, but I pulled away. I said that I had to tell him something and asked him to turn off the TV. He obliged. I just froze after that. I literally couldn't get the words to come out in the way I wanted them to or how to begin to talk coherently. Even though I asked for advice in the previous post, I totally went blank in that moment, and none of it was implemented effectively. I tried changing the conversation because I felt like I was going to cry, but he assured me that I could tell him. I honestly don't remember what I said because I'm pretty sure my brain shut down, but I managed to mumble some sort of god-awful explanation. He asked a few questions, and then said he wasn't sure if he could be in a relationship that doesn't involve love-making. He said that we could keep it casual for now and see where things went. Even though I originally went in with the worst expectation, I was still hurt by what he said. I felt really let down because he met a lot of the things on my checklist, and I thought we connected well. I asked what keep it casual specifically meant for him, and he said that we could be exclusive, but he didn't want to get too emotionally attached. I guess that was the part that really stung. I told him that I wasn't looking for a definitive answer yet because it was still too early to tell anything, and I wasn't looking for marriage, but if he knew right now, for a fact, that he can't be in a serious relationship with someone that has my condition, then I wasn't interested. I know myself too well, and honest to God, I can't get involved with someone without getting emotionally attached, and agreeing to see where it went would be intentionally setting myself up to get hurt. Plus, I think that was just his way of saying no to me nicely. He politely said that we could both take a few days to think about what we wanted, and he'd let me know. He was just trying to let me down easy, because we both knew what he meant. It was around 8:30 p.m. by the time we got done with that discussion, and I said that I should probably leave. He walked me to the elevator, in silence, and as I was about to enter the elevator, he asked if I would still be interested in being friends because he enjoyed my company. I said I wasn't sure, and that I'd talk to him later. By the time I got down to the first floor and out the building, I had tears down my face, and I felt like absolute crap. Pretty much every guy I have told about my condition would later go on to say that we could be friends with benefits or something more friendly. I just felt like no one would ever want me for me, and that all I would be good for is some side action. I felt really alone. I felt that the only reason I had ever been in a relationship previously was because I hadn't been diagnosed with my condition when I started dating my ex, and we had already been together for a year when I did find out. I felt like he only stayed with me a year longer because we had a strong emotional bond, but even that came to an end when he cheated on me. I'm not that insecure, but at that time I couldn't think straight. I had just experienced something nice, and it was instantly taken away from me. I haven't had many friends after my ex cheated on me with my best friend, and I cut contact with everyone in that circle, and making friends at university is difficult if you're a commuter. I ended up calling a guy I know as I walked back to the subway. I don't really consider him a friend anymore because he has told me he has feelings for me, but I don't feel the same way back towards him, and he makes constant cheesy statements about me and him despite me telling him not to. I don't want him getting too attached to me, so I keep my distance. But in that moment, I really needed someone, and I didn't have any other option. So I called him, he picked up, I asked if he was busy, and he said he was playing a game with friends and he could call me back later. I didn't want to bother him like that, so I told him it wasn't necessary. So, I did something very stupid, and called my ex. His girlfriend, the girl he cheated on me with, had him block my number, so it went straight to voicemail. Like any insane person, I left a very pathetic voicemail, sobbing and all. I said I didn't have anyone to talk to and apologized for calling him, but I couldn't think of anyone else to talk to. I didn't mention what happened or anything, just that I needed someone. I stood outside in the cold, it's snowing here, for a while until my whole body felt numb. I gathered myself and thought, come on, what the heck are you doing? This is not you. You're better than this. I promptly got on the subway, went home, got into bed, and went to sleep. I woke up the next morning with a fever. That's what I get for getting too close to a guy that's sick, but still had to go to class and attend tutorials. I thought about my reaction a lot, and how poorly I had handled it. Clearly, I have issues I need to work on. I stayed late after the tutorial getting extra help, and after my TA was done helping all the other students, I went to her office and privately asked her if she had any recommendations for someone that I could talk to on campus. She asked me if it had to do with academic stress or something more personal. I said the latter. She pulled out her laptop so quick and got me numbers, emails, and addresses for places I could contact on campus. She told me that she understood and that she too was having issues a couple months ago and recommended a clinic she had been to personally. I couldn't stop thanking her. Before I left, I said, it's not a big deal or too serious. I guess things could always be worse, and without skipping a beat, she said yeah, but things could also be a lot better. I thanked her for her help and left. He hasn't texted me in 2 days now. I'll wait a little longer, but I guess I got my answer. I realize I am not ready for dating. For the time being, I should get help. It's not that I can't handle rejection, but the fact that time and time again, I get guys who are totally into me, and aren't looking for lovemaking right away because they want something more meaningful, but as soon as I mention no lovemaking at all, for now, at least, they turn me down. If they rejected me right from the start, and we didn't get along well, I could handle that perfectly fine. I can't help but think I'm a defective human, and will never find a guy who would appreciate me for me. I have yet contact the number my TA gave me. If you've read this far, thank you. If you have any advice, things I should improve on, better ways to handle situations like this, constructive criticism, or any other comments, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Final post 2 more days later. I just wanted to address some common questions, and to clear up some things I've mentioned in the comments briefly. I hope this post is a little more coherent and organized than my previous ones. But before I do that, I really just want to thank everyone for all your nice messages and advice. You have no idea how much it actually means to me, and how much I appreciate it. Quick update, I texted Kyle yesterday and he replied. I asked him how he was feeling. He said he was even more sick than earlier. I said I was too, and I said it was his fault, in a joking way, because it was just as much my fault too. I told him about how I had a volunteer thing at university which I went to and how I nearly fainted because of my fever and ended up coming home early. But that was it. We didn't talk about much else because he stopped responding. In addition to this, I haven't called the number my TA gave me because they are only open Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So, I'm going to be doing that on Monday, hopefully. My condition, the exact name for my condition is Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome, or MRKH syndrome for short. It affects 1 in every 5,000 women. A lot of people, I'm assuming they were trolls, stated that I was a guy or something along those lines. Just to clarify, I am a woman, I look like a woman physically and I felt like a woman my whole life. I was genetically born with 20 chromosomes. Being a woman is not something I doubt. There are basically 2 types of branches within MRKH. Type 1 is an isolated occurrence, meaning there is only a lack or underdevelopment of internal reproductive organs. Type 2 is more serious as it is also associated with auditory, vertebral, renal, and cardiac issues. This may include hearing loss, bent or curved spine, missing kidney, etc. I have type 1. There are a lot of variations for each woman and to what extent they are affected by this. I am mainly going to be talking about my individual case. Diagnosis: a lot of people were confused as to why I was only diagnosed with this a year ago and not at birth, and why did I find out after already being with my ex for over a year. The way MKRH works is that it affects internal reproductive organs. This means that just by looking on the outside, it is undetectable. From the outside, I look like a normal female. I have normal external genitalia, including a clitoris, urethra, labia, etc. I am missing the vaginal opening, cervix, uterus, fallopian tubes, and my ovaries are underdeveloped. My ovaries contain a few eggs, and they function enough to produce lower levels of estrogen, which is why I am still physically able to look like a female. For me personally, instead of a vaginal opening, I have something called an indentation or dimple. For 18 years of my life, I lived thinking I was just like any other girl. I never once suspected anything was wrong. When I started dating my ex, we never attempted to make love because neither of us were ready. But this was around the time I started to feel like something was wrong. One main reason was that I hadn't started my period, and the second being the fact that I wasn't able to insert a finger inside myself. For some reason, at the time, I assumed periods and fingering went together. I thought that once a girl got her period, her privates opened and the barrier fell out or something like that. It's weird looking back at that now, haha. I went to the doctor's one day. This was before I started dating my ex, with my mom after she started getting worried about me not getting my period. This is probably one of the most common ways women with MRKH find out about it. The doctor simply assumed that I was a late bloomer and told me to fix up my diet and work out. I was underweight at the time, around 82 pounds with a height of 5 feet. I was referred to a pediatrician who did absolute jack about my situation. The following year, I got my crap together on my own. I joined the wrestling team, track team, and I started doing weight training. As a result of this, I was also eating way more, and I gained a lot of muscle mass. I got my weight up to 120 pounds when I still hadn't gotten my period. I went back to the doctors. They still didn't take it too seriously, telling me that some women don't get their periods until they turn 20 or something, or asked me about my family history. I had multiple blood tests done, showing my levels were completely normal. I didn't feel like everything was normal, so I switched around doctors, seeing different specialists, and pediatricians, getting more and more blood tests done each time. Needless to say, I was getting tired of blood tests because I knew they didn't show anything. One doctor said my prolactin levels were too high, but I think that was circumstantial. Prolactin is the hormone that produces breast milk in pregnant women, and she kept insisting that I had breast discharge, which is something I had never experienced before in my life. Somehow, I can't exactly remember which doctor, I ended up getting put on birth control pills as an attempt to reset my biological functions and induce a period. I diligently took the birth control pills every day. Nothing happened. This is when I thought, is it just me or does healthcare in Canada suck? Then another doctor suggested I get a pelvic ultrasound done. This is when they found the issue. The poor lady who did my ultrasound spent over an hour looking for my uterus, which didn't even exist. The doctor did a pretty terrible job of telling me the news, in all honesty. She stood at the door, ultrasound reading in hand, with the door wide open, and told my mom I had MRKH. She said according to the ultrasound I had an underdeveloped uterus. This ends up being false later. She literally didn't even spend 2 minutes talking about it and left. I walked back to the car with my mom. She was crying as she called my dad and told him the news. His response was just to start swearing, not knowing he was on speakerphone and I could hear him. And then he said, "It's okay, just forget it." I came home, and I did some Googling and started to learn more about MRKH. I had already been with my ex for over a year up till this point, and I texted him while he was at work, and told him about it. I also added that if it changed anything between us, that I would understand, and I wouldn't hold it against him. As much as I might hate him now, he was the only one who ever handled this news properly, which is something I really needed at the time. After the initial news, my doctor handed my file over to a sick kids hospital in downtown Toronto as they were better equipped to handle cases like mine. They started off by wanting to get everything straight with what they knew about my condition. They had me get an MRI done because, although ultrasounds are more inexpensive, they are not as clear and detailed as an MRI. I also had an ear exam, x-rays of my spine, and another pelvic ultrasound, to check kidneys. Doctors aren't allowed to disclose patient information, and of course, the poor lady spent a good while looking for my uterus and even called in another technician to help. I ended up asking them if they were trying to look for my uterus, because I didn't have one. The look on their face was hilarious, as I'm sure they probably never heard of my condition either. After I met up with my doctor, and everything was figured out, I was properly informed that I did not have any issues with my spine, or kidneys, or ears, but I was missing a uterus, cervix, vaginal canal, and fallopian tubes. I was called in for another appointment after a couple weeks, and they did a physical examination where they wanted to measure the depth of my vagina. They had me lay down with my legs in the stirrups, and they took a Q-tip covered in a lubricant gel and inserted it in me. The depth of it was about 3 millimeters deep. It was actually quite painful, and I hated doctors by this point anyways. Family situation: my parents are pretty religious, and discussions about topics about the female body, menstruation, and private matters like that are highly taboo. Everyone knows about it, but no one talks about it. My mother isn't educated and she doesn't know English well, so most of the time when I went to the doctors, I went with my dad. It was very weird and awkward. The few times my dad refused to go with me, I went with my mom and had to translate everything the doctors were saying for her. After my last appointment with Sick Kids Hospital, they referred me to a social worker who gave me her business card, some brochures and other things with information about my condition. My dad took those from me and threw them out, saying I didn't need them. They also asked if I would like to attend the support group meetings they had weekly at the hospital, to which my dad also insisted that I didn't. Going to therapy at the hospital in secret isn't an option because it's too far. I can't drive on the highway yet, and it would be impossible for me to make up some lie to go. Taking the bus there would take over 2 hours, which I don't particularly mind doing if it helps me, but I don't have time due to school. I actually got a letter from the hospital in September about a pretty cool MRKH conference here where different doctors came with information and everyone dealing with it was invited. I really wanted to go. But again, it was far. I figured since it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I could definitely bus there. The event started at 8 a.m. and busing literally took 5 hours. It was unrealistic for me to go. So then I told my parents about it and they said, "You don't want to go to that. They'll put all sorts of rubbish in your mind and now you're not really a woman." I tried arguing that it was exactly the opposite of that, and that they want to inform you that you are a woman despite the lack of certain organs. They responded by taking away the letter, which had a website address on it, I had received from the hospital, and throwing it away. I had someone telling me that I need to stand up to my parents. My parents aren't the issue, but my dad is. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances that I don't particularly want to reveal online, standing up to him jeopardizes everything for my mother and my younger siblings, which is something I refuse to do. I am well aware of the crappy situation I am in. I know they are being abusive, in more than one way. I've thought long and hard about it, and I've come to the terms that not doing anything about it is the best approach. I'm not saying this out of fear or wanting to be selfish and pretending like we're a normal family. I've seriously taken everyone's well-being and the future of my younger siblings into consideration, and unfortunately, this is the best option for now. Surgery: I had a lot of people asking or informing me about surgery. In my first post, somewhere in the comments, I believe I said something along the lines of I'm a broke college student, and surgery isn't an option right now, as a way to avoid talking about the real reason why I can't get surgery yet. Lucky for me, I live in Canada and I have health insurance. Surgery is definitely an option for me. But due to my family situation, they believe that I won't need surgery until after I get married, because I mean it's not like I'm going to be making love anytime soon. Haha. Additional comments. 1. A lot of people, mainly guys, are saying that I could look into doing butt stuff. It's all about personal preference, and I hate it. It's not hot, it's not fun, it's literally feeling like reverse pooing, and it's not a good feeling. 2. I can look into the asexual community, but I am not asexual. I may not be able to satisfy my needs, but I do have a pretty high intimate drive, and I do enjoy giving and other sexual activities. I don't know if I would want to be in a relationship with an individual who does not want that. 3. A lot of people had a lot to say about how I handled the situation. Some saying I did the right thing, and others saying I did it too soon. Honestly, I haven't figured out the right way to go about it. I have experimented with telling on first date, telling after a couple dates, telling before we even meet up, and none of them have gone well at all. I once told a guy about my condition before we met up, and the first thing he said to me when he saw me was, "Aren't you surprised I still agreed to meet up with you after what you told me?" I was so taken aback by it, I didn't even know how to respond to such an insensitive and arrogant comment. Someone said that if a dude has irritable bowel syndrome, I'm sure it's an important part of their life, but it's a huge first date turnoff. So he shouldn't disclose it on the first date. True, but it's not like them screwing is going to be affected by his IBS. I didn't disclose it because it was an important aspect of my life, but because it was relevant to what was happening. I evaluated the situation I was in with Kyle and noticed that he was trying to get to the next level, so I had to tell him. Agree or not, first date material or not, I'm going to stand by with what I did because in that moment it was the right thing to do. 4. I am not going to disclose this on my dating profile. It's easy for everyone to sit there and suggest I do that, but you don't really know what it's like until you're actually in the situation yourself. I don't want to publicly display it to guys I'm not interested in, nor to those who aren't interested in me. I know guys who also use those dating apps, and I don't want them to stumble across my profile and find out about it. 5. The guy I ended up calling on Tuesday night, after I left Kyle's apartment, he knows about my condition. He has told me that it wouldn't bother him. I had a lot of messages telling me that I shouldn't friend-zone him, and that I should give him a chance. Here is the real reason why I'm not attracted to him, nor why I would never ever give him a chance. He's basically doing nothing with his life. He's 24, lives with his mom, doesn't work, can't drive, plays video games all day, Uses his depression and anxiety as an excuse from putting in any effort towards having an independent life. Whereas I, on the other hand, I work part-time, I study my butt off in school, and I make time to do extracurricular stuff. I also deal with depression, self-harm, and self-destructive thoughts. But I treat each day as an opportunity to make progress. I'm not saying I'm better than him because our circumstances are very different, nor am I saying that he's not trying his best because everyone deals with things differently. I'm just saying he doesn't have his crap figured out yet, and I'm not into that. In addition to this, he was once involved in a situation where he was the other guy. He was involved with a girl who had a boyfriend, and he knew this before getting involved with her but continued with it anyway because he was lonely. I was on the opposite end of that kind of situation, and even though he might not be aware of the magnitude of his actions, I am. There is no way I am dating someone who selfishly puts their needs first and is able to convince themselves that cheating is somehow okay. 6. I think one of the main reasons I even turned to Reddit in the first place was because I am clearly looking for some sort of support because therapy isn't an option for me. Social media platforms for support do exist, but my parents had me added or followed on those, and I don't want them finding out. This is far longer than it needed to be, sorry. I hope I answered some questions. I really do appreciate all the support I got. Thank you, and take care everyone. Edit 1, I'm only doing this to feel better about myself. Kyle finally replied to me and said, I definitely do not want to get involved. Fuck you, Kyle. If y'all want to hate on him, feel free to. I welcome it with open arms. Edit 2, I think I forgot to address this earlier. For those of you asking whether I can orgasm through clitoral stimulation, the answer is no. My clitoris is underdeveloped. Stimulation feels good, but it's not enough to reach orgasm. Maybe a stronger vibrator or something like that would work? I don't know. I haven't tried. Edit 3, guys. I can still pee. I have a urethra. You do not put a guy's pee-pee in the same place you pee from. Simply anatomy.